Well, my next guest says the uncertainty means his clients are lacking confidence. S.D. Shibulal took over the reins of India's second-largest software exporter, Infosys, just last year. Shibulal and his colleagues helped found the company 3 decades ago with $250,000 borrowed from their wives. The company is now valued at around $30 billion, and I'm pleased to say Mr. Shibulal joins me in the studio now. Thank you very much for being with us. So I want to start by asking you what Davos has been like so far. What have you learnt?
I think it has been pretty good, but before I go there, let me just say one thing. We actually borrowed $250, not $250,000.
Okay, so how about that? And look at how you've grown.
It has been great. So Davos has been pretty good for us. The theme of Davos is very appropriate, creating new models of business. And for example, yesterday afternoon, we had a panel where we were discussing about new leadership models. What is the role of the CEO in the new coming decade. So it has been a great experience.
And so what came out of them? What are you hearing about that? You must be speaking to some big investors and CEOs. What should their role be in the next decade?
I think 2 or 3 things came out. Number one is leadership by example. That means the CEOs of today really need to lead by example. They cannot ask their employees to go where they are not willing to go. That was number one. Number two, I think CEOs have a bigger role in creating trust because over the last couple of years, we have lost trust in business. But the role of the corporation is really not going to change because corporations today create wealth, they create employment. So the role of the CEO is, while doing excellence in execution, they also have to create trust.
Yeah.
And the last one is they really need to have an innovation agenda in place.
Just picking up on the second point about creating trust, do you think that since the financial crisis, the situation has changed in the sense that CEOs' expectations are changing, CEOs are being held to different standards, that it's almost like they're having to play more of a social role as well, as if they're in the public sector instead of the private sector?
I think the expectation of the corporate and on the CEO both has changed or evolved, I would say. I think today's world expects the CEOs or the corporates to build what I call sustainable tomorrow, which means it is not about growth and profits. It's about honoring the social contract. It is about making sure that the resources are managed properly. It is about making sure that you are fair to all the stakeholders. That is your clients, investors, employees, and the society, all 4 of them.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about your business because obviously you're outsourcing. So when we see a slowdown in developed markets, that is something that impacts you. What are you seeing with your clients, with your customers in terms of IT budgets, projects and spending? Is there a sense, are clients holding back? Have there been any delays or cancellations, put it like that?
So actually, let me just talk about Q3 for a minute. That is what we just passed, and I think it was a fairly good one for us. We did 3.4% growth quarter on quarter. Added 49 new clients, margins went up by 3%, and
but that's Q3. What about this year?
So, looking at the future, what we are seeing is that there is lack of confidence in spending because of all the uncertainties around, and decisions are getting delayed.
Okay.
Business velocity is slightly lower, but we are not seeing cancellations or postponement of projects. We believe that once the budgets are closed, and which will close in February, I think it will go back to normal state for most part.
Infosys relies on Europe and North America for more than 80% of its revenue, right? So are you going to be focusing increasingly on other parts of the world when it comes to revenue growth as a way of adjusting to a challenging business environment in your core markets?
So if you look at it, if you look at the technology and consulting spend, US is the leader in the world. So our US business will continue to grow. But when you look at Europe, we are in a unique position. If you look at our revenue from continental Europe, it is only 10%. So while all this crisis is going on, there is an opportunity for us to grow there. Not only that, the crisis is actually opening the eyes of all the corporations in Europe to look at new models, and we are that new model. So we are investing into continental Europe. We will actually recruit 500 people here in the next 6 to 9 months. We have opened front offices in Germany and France, which is doing well. Germany and France, I believe, has grown by 40% year on year for us. So we will also focus on emerging countries like India is doing good for us. But our core markets...
But you are actually investing and growing in continental Europe.
Yes.
What about the growth of the IT industry worldwide? Is that going to continue at the pace that we've seen over the past few years?
So we expect the budget this year to be flat to marginally down. But while that is so, the interest in the new models of outsourcing, offshoring, we believe will strongly continue.
I want to ask you about India's economy, because we've seen growth falling back to 6.5%, 7% levels. It's not bad when you look at growth elsewhere in the world, but nevertheless, it's slowing down compared to the rates that we've seen in the past. Do you think that India's growth will depend mainly on domestic consumption to get back to, say, GDP levels of 9%?
So I think you need to look at India as holistically, because even in today's world, India is also connected with the rest of the world, and there will be impact of rest of the world changes on India. But when I look at the emerging countries, and especially India, if you look at India, India has an emerging middle class of 300 million people. That's a huge market. And India has a healthy domestic consumption. So India's growth will be actually fueled by both domestic and foreign investments. If you look at talent coming out of India, India produces 700,000 English-speaking engineers, which is one of the largest in the world. So there is no way that corporates will not be able to leverage that talent. And if you look at innovation, there is actually a tremendous amount of innovation going on in India today, either bringing ideas from outside and implementing it in India, or creating ideas in India and taking it out. So I clearly believe that the GDP growth will be driven by domestic and foreign investments equally, and the innovation will lead.
There are still issues, aren't there, when it comes to governance and corruption? Is enough being done to tackle them? Because I suppose this could get in the way of the investment and the innovation that you describe.
So there are multiple challenges. There is a challenge of governance which is being addressed today, because I think the more you talk about it, that means you are coming closer and closer to action rather than not action. Then there are the infrastructure challenges which you need to address. Education for the larger masses, because while India produces 700,000 engineers, you have the contradiction that you have millions of children who are not in school. So we really need to focus on creating education for those millions of people, and employment for the youth, because India is going through a huge demography shift, and the youth has to be employed. Otherwise, you will have issues issues like social unrest. So there are a number of challenges to be addressed, but at the same time, I believe that the momentum is positive.
The momentum was positive enough. I can just quickly ask that the business leaders and the executives that you're speaking to here, is there an acknowledgement on their part that these opportunities do exist in India, or do you sense also they are maybe a bit cautious because of these ongoing issues that you're having with corruption and corporate governance and so on?
So the sense I get is cautious optimism, because they really understand that these opportunities exist, because this is the largest market being created, the largest talent pool being created, largest innovation hubs being created, so you can't avoid. They really have concerns about some of the issues which you raised, but I believe that there is consensus that they will actually have to participate in the growth.
Well, thank you very much. Really interesting to talk to you. Infosys CEO S.D. Shibulal, of course, Infosys being India's second largest software exporter, giving us a sense of where his business is heading and all the broader conditions that we're having to function in right now.